Welcome guys to Nikki's Handmade World. I'm going to show you how to make all types of different DIYs, different sewing techniques, even jewelry making. So make sure you subscribe because all of my subscribers are handmade warriors. So it doesn't matter if you want to do it as a hobby for friends and family, or if you want to start a business like I did. I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks you need to get started and to have an awesome time. So I'm your new BFF. Get used to it. Let's get to it. All right. So as you guys can see, I don't have a super fancy, sewing machine, but it does the job. I gotta tell you guys, it has all the fancy options, stuff like that, so it works just fine. Now here is some patterns that I've already cut. As maybe you don't know, I actually run a business, Nikki's Handmade World, and I make all different types of things, but my main thing on my site is actually masks. But what's different about my mask is that they all have filters sewn inside. And the filters that are sewn inside are actually antiviral filters. So I do use different companies, but that is the main thing that makes my mask different from everyone else's. And I actually custom make them. Here you're just seeing some patterns of just regular patterns, but on my channel I'm actually going to show you how to custom make masks with glitter, with names, all different types of things. Actually, if you go check out my Etsy store, you can see all the different types of masks that I offer. And we are actually going to do a bunch of rhinestone blinging out of the mask. We're going to do some designs, everything's from butterflies to wine glasses to specific logos and names. It's all going to be here, so make sure you subscribe. So I'm just showing you some of the different plain colors, the different ones actually that look, sports teams, go Ravens. And the plain pink is a hot one because they're always requesting it for different special custom made masks. But today we're going to do the black and blue and red rose colored mask. Now I did bling this out later on at the end. Hold on to the end because you're going to see a picture of this all finished and me wearing it with some added bling to it, which is always fun. And stay tuned for the next video because we will be bedazzling a mask in the next one. So I've decided to show you guys the rose colored, the rose mask actually available on the site with a white background. Now I always do different color that goes to the face. So you definitely can tell the difference because of the way the mask is made. It's not made to be reversible. It's made to just go one way, and they are washable, which is the awesome part of making masks this way. Now, I know a lot of people make them with the removable filter, but I like to have it sewn inside. And a lot of my customers actually prefer it that way. So it is washable. You just hang it up. You keep it moving and you can reuse it, rewash it so many times. It just becomes part of your wardrobe. So the way I make them is super secure. This is a fitted mask. So I do make them in adults, in teen kind of sizes, and all the way down to 5 years old. And so these are more fitted masks. They actually come in elastic ear loops, but they also come adjustable, so you can take the loops out, the elastic out, and actually add ties if you want. You can actually add behind the head straps if you want. So these masks are basically adjustable to fit anybody's sort of thing. All you have to do is just remove them. You'll see toward the middle of the video how I make the areas where the actual elastic goes. It's not sewn inside the mask. I make them so they are removable. So if you want to have ties in your mask to tie around your head, you can do it that way, or you could have the ear loops, or you can have behind the head straps. Now I'm showing you right here how you have to sew in a kind of a curved formation. So you see the kind of how I flipped it around there. You see how I just sewed down the front of it. You have to actually just sew along the seam, leave about I would say about a 1/2 inch seam allowance for the sew. And what you notice here is that I reversed it, and now I'm sewing again back down. You always want to reinforce this area, especially because it's actually going to be the middle of the mask where it actually curves out so you can talk and, you know, breathe freely and stuff like that. So I always reinforced it with a second stitch. And as you just saw, I reinforced it, giving it a snip here. Yep, that's my scissors. I love those scissors. They're actually made for fabric. And then, as you can see, there's a double stitch going all the way there, right around to the end. So it gives it just that extra layer of security for the front of the mask. How awesome is that? Yeah. So you see when I open it, it actually is curving in. It's very secure with the double stitch, and looks pretty awesome. Yeah, cool. And this fabric, I definitely love it. I'll try to put the links of everything that I am using and where I got my fabric. There is a lot of it from Amazon and different companies, but the majority of them, all of this stuff that I actually use, you can find on Amazon. And I will leave the links below, and it would really help the channel if you use my link. It costs nothing for you, but it means a lot to me. And so as you can see, I'm doing the same thing with the white backing. Now I do choose different colors for the backing, but it is always a solid color. And that's kind of a trademark of mine, that it's always going to be a solid color on the inside, so there's no guesswork, and so it just fits better. And you know, it's just a thing that I do. So, you know, now as you can see, I flipped it over, and when I'm doing that, I keep the needle down so it's easier actually for me to just flip it over. I give it a little bit of a sew right before I start going down, just to get the needle in a better position. Then I just start going down, all the way down, actually going right behind the first stitch. You never want to overlap the stitch because that could cause a gap in the front. So you never want to do that. You just want to go a little bit behind the first stitch, all the way down and around. And there you go. Nice. Now remember, it doesn't have to be super straight because these stitches are not going to show. This is actually going to be inside of your mask, and they're on a curve. So, you know, there you go. Now, let me just remind you guys that I am not leaving my presser foot down as I sew. For this particular mask type, this particular pattern, to cut on a kind of a curved angle like that, you want to leave your presser foot up and basically control it with your hands. So you'll notice that I'm really hands-on when it comes to when I'm sewing. And so you want to leave your presser foot up as you're getting those curves in, and you know, sewing your double layer on the front of the mask. Now you see I am cutting the excess seam allowance because you don't need that, and you want to have a kind of a nice tight curve on the when it's folded inside out as people are wearing it. So that's what I'm just doing, and you cut it as tight as possible to the first stitch, and you kind of size them up to make sure that they're both on facing the right way. Now for this pattern and for the way that I cut the material, I'll do another video for that. That's going to be super exciting. I'll show you the pattern. I'll show you how I actually cut them all out from scratch, how I cut 2 at a time, which is kind of a method I do. And you'll definitely love that method too. You can cut more fabric in less time, and it's super convenient. So all of the ones you see in my basket there have been pre-cut, so when I get orders to come in, I can just already have them cut out and you know, continue from there. Now, custom masks are a big, you know, big thing that I do, but everybody loves a cute pattern, and I have plenty of them. So now all of my masks do have wire, the nose wire sewn inside as well. They're not sticked on the outside. They're not hanging off. They're not out. And I made these with healthcare professionals in mind. I actually am a healthcare professional. That's why I started actually making these, because we didn't have enough protection. So I made these with the healthcare worker in mind to give us more protection. So that's why they have the filter sewn inside. They're washable, and they have the nose wire, and it's a good fit. As you'll see a picture of me actually wearing one and the end. And on my Instagram, guys, you can see so many more pictures of people wearing them, all wearing my different styles, all the custom work, all that. So don't be afraid to go there. So what I'm doing now is just getting them together. Now, what you want to do is you want to fold them, you know, inside out. So just had to adjust a little adjustment there. But anyway, as you can see, you fold. So you see how I have the mask. It's both of the end pieces are touching, like all of the part that is sewn. So the stitching is together. So you'll see what I mean in a moment. But what I'm doing here is actually inserting the wire, the nose, the metal nose piece. It's actually not a wire. It's actually technically like a hard aluminum that is actually flexible. It's actually made for mass use, for to actually go in a mask. And it is bendable. It's it's aluminum, so it's washable, and it's just a pleasure to work with. I will leave the links in the description below. So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting my stick pins in, because what you want to do is put the metal wire into the top of the mask, fold it over as tightly as you can, and then you're going to pin it together with your stick pins, and you're going to actually pin it along the edge of the wire mask. You can actually feel it with your fingers, and you'll just that's what I'm doing, just kind of adjusting it and making sure that it's tight, and that the wire, the aluminum nose wire, is actually laying flat. So you want to lay it flat with the curved side going out, meaning going down to the front of the mask, and the back part where it has the glue actually is going to face you. I do not take the glue strip off, guys, because I need it to actually be movable, and you'll see why. Because the technique that I use, I actually sew it inside the mask so it doesn't move, instead of using the glue to rely on it not to move. And you don't really want to have a washable mask that has a glue kind of backing going on, because you know it's just not a good look. As you can see, the pins are all lined up to the top of the mask, and it's actually right underneath the wire, so you can actually use the wire as kind of your guide. And you're gonna see here that I'm gonna go ahead and sew it in. Now when you're sewing, guys, please remember to not put the ball of your stick pin. You want that ball near your fingers. You don't want to like turn, see how the stick pins are like sticking out. You don't want that to be facing your fingers because that is going to be painful. As you see here, I'm taking out the pins and sewing down toward the next pin. And what I'm doing is using the wire as my guide, so I can feel the wire actually inside of the mask. So as I'm sewing it down, as you can see, I'm just sewing right along that metal wire. I'm just sewing right in the middle there. See right there. That's why you got to be careful. I snagged it a little bit, the wire. That's because I'm that close to the metal nose wire, but that's okay. Just lift your needle up, go right underneath that wire, and continue to sew right underneath the wire. You can actually feel it in there as a guide, and you remove your pins and then continue to sew on the end toward the end of the mask. Then you want to reverse it because here we always secure. So one, maybe for others would be okay, but no, we need our stuff secure. So that's what we're doing here. So we just flip it, and we're gonna sew to again, the same thing we did, right along the back of that same stitch. You never want to stitch over top of each other, but right along that back of that stitch, and we are done with the top part. You want to just remember, always keep your foot on the pedals so you can get that extra amount of thread, so you could be prepared for the next time you go and stitch again. There you go. So it's looking good. So we have the top part actually done. The wire is in. We're going to secure the wire at the end. Sometimes I do it at this point, but you know, just to show, I'm going to do it at the end when we complete the mask. What you see here is actually my filter. This brand here is by 3M. It is the maximum amount of viral microns that they have, and it is it comes actually in a kind of a square. But what I do is I take the metal grating off, I stretch it all the way out, I give it a rinse, I let it dry, and then I use it. And I love this material actually because it is so easy to work with, and it you know, it can get wet and then just dry out, keep on moving. That's why it's perfect for washable, I feel, washable masks. So what's going on here is I'm actually, now I have these already pre-cut. When I do my other video, I'll actually give you the measurements of the pre-cut, because all my masks are pretty much the same kind of dimensions. That's just from the pattern that I use, and how I adjust them is to make, well, I'll make a kids mask video also, so you can see the difference between the adults and the kids mask. So what I do is kind of cut the top of it in like a slight curve to match the top of the actual mask. So the actual curve with the metal wire is sewn into. You want to just kind of go in a curve to, you know, to line it up. It's not going to be perfect, but just so it is flush with the top. And you see I'm kind of just adjusting it, just checking it to see how tight it is up there, which it looks good to me. And it should fit pretty good because, like I said, it's pre-cut as far as the measurements beforehand to fit not exactly, but almost exactly to each size of the adult mask. And then I'll show you at another time how we adjust it if we are making it for a teenager or a child. So what I'm doing here is I'm just adding a few pins. It's the same sort of thing that I did for the top. The exact same thing. You use stick pins. You actually fold the bottom area over slightly while feeling the actual filter inside. So you always want to be mindful of where your filter is. So the filter is inside. So as you can see, I just folded the bottom over Now, the filter is not pinned. You have to make sure that the filter remains kind of free flowing and loose inside. So that's what I'm doing there. Just checking to make sure that the filter is free. Now remember, I do wash my hands, and I have hand sanitizer that I use while I'm making these masks. And also while I'm making the mask, I wear a mask myself, just for the safety of my customers and just for sanitation reasons. So I do wipe my workstation down beforehand, and I use hand sanitizer before I start to handle any masks. And I also wear a mask myself, just so you know. And I think I advise you that if you're making masks, because you're a handmade warrior, you probably are, or you want to get one from your girl, just rest assured that I am using the best safety precautions possible for mask making. And so I got you. So what I'm doing is the same technique that I did for the top part, which is starting at the beginning, making sure I'm not actually sewing the filter that's inside. So that's why I do a cut on the top and a little cut at the bottom, just so it can be, that little bend that I use will not be sewn in. So you don't want to actually sew the filter that is inside. You want that to kind of be roaming free on the inside, which it is. And so all you need is a slight bend of the fabric at the bottom. And then, of course, we're going to secure it again. So we're going to do a double stitch. Remember, not going over the same stitch you already did. You want to be right behind that first stitch that you do. And then there you go. Now, guys, if you don't know how to sew at all, I will do a basic how to sew tutorial. All of that is coming. So make sure you're subscribed. And comment below on what type of videos you actually want to see. I am so totally down of taking suggestions and doing videos that you want to see. But we're going to have all types of tutorials on here. Your girl Nikki's got you. Like I said, I'm your new BFF, so get used to it. So what I'm doing is just, making sure the filter, the location, I didn't sew it into it or anything like that. Everything's good. So now we have to make the loops. Now, as I said before, the way I make my mask, I like to have them flexible. Like I said, I had healthcare workers in mind when I made this, but they're for everyone. But sometimes they prefer masks that have ties, or they may need masks with ear loops, or they might want the behind the head straps. The way I make them is I actually make them so you, as the consumer or as the wearer, is free to choose what type of the way you want to secure your mask. So a lot of people do like the ear loops, but some do like ties for around the head, or some just like the behind the head straps, because as you know, sometimes the ear loops can get a little pinchy, I would say, after a long time. Not all the time necessarily, but if you have to wear a mask for 12 hours straight, then yeah, you get a little uncomfortable. So ties or behind the head straps actually is a great option for that. And with the masks that I make, the way that I make them, you have the freedom to do all of it. So what I did is actually similar to what I did at the bottom and the top. I'm actually folding it again. And these, I make sure that I fold them a little more wider so that whatever security I'm using for the ear loops or the straps or the ties have enough space to fit through there, to slide through there freely, that it won't be hindered. It can slide and move. And so that's why I kind of make them wide. And as you can see from my number 3, I secured this side 3 times because, now we do the others twice, but this, because there's going to be some pulling here, there's going to be some tugging, there's going to be some wear and tear here. So you want to make sure wherever you're securing the elastic or ties or whatever, that it is secured so they won't come loose. And especially because this is a washable mask, you want to make sure that you want to make sure that it lasts a long time. There you go. Awesome. And you see I'm not going over top of any stitch. I'm going right behind the other one, so it doesn't have any gaps or anything like that. We're going to do the same thing for the other side. So what I'm doing here is folding it over. Now you can use pins to do this as well, just like I use pins for the upper part where the nose wire is, and for the bottom part. You can use pins for this as well, but I've been getting a lot of practice doing this. I guess I would definitely say I've made over 1,500 masks at this point. So yeah, I've had some practice. And that's actually why I make them this way, because I find that they're more versatile. My hair's in the way. More versatile and flexible and more secure than just the plain, mask with no filter in it, or the one that's removable. I think not throwing any shade or anything, but I do think, just from personal experience, that the filters that you can remove, they're so small, like they're such in a small area, it really is not getting the whole circumference of your face. This filter actually is the size of the mask. It's stretched out for the full size of the mask, which technically gives you more coverage, filter coverage. So I prefer this. These are the masks I wear every day, and these I wear them at work. Actually, I work at a hospital. Hey, I'll just throw it out there. But these masks I feel are more secure than besides the N95. I do feel more secure with this instead of just a regular surgical mask. And these are washable, and you can detail them and customize them. How awesome is that? Now this is the finished product as far as the seams. Now of course, you want to cut your ends. Let's get rid of that guy. But now since we're finished, now see, look at that. You got an actual filtered mask sewn inside securely. But remember, I told you about the end. We got to secure the wire nose guard, and that is very important if you want a nice fitted mask that's adjustable and go around your nose and really secure there. So what we have to do is we have to line up the mask and the wire inside, so both ends could be on the basically across from each other. So what I'm doing here is feeling for the actual wire. If you actually look closer, you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm actually feeling, I'm feeling for that wire to see how across from each other it is. You see I'm kind of bending it right there. You can, and see, that is why I said you cannot take the backing off of the glue if you're making it in my style, because you cannot move that wire around as you need to. You want that wire to be flexible, and then you be the one to secure it. I guess if you didn't want to do this extra step, you could take the backing off and try your luck. But if it's not correctly lined the right way, it's going to be stuck in there and almost impossible to move around. So this way, you line it up first, then you secure it. I find, just from practice, that this is the best way. So that's what I'm doing. Actually, I'm double stitching it. Gotta secure stuff, because why not? And so that's what I'm doing. And I just cut that side and see how that's secured now. So that one side is good to go. And then showing you from the other side, kind of how that looks there. That's good to go. That's not moving on that side. And then we're going to do the other side the same way. You just want to line it up. And now you always want to see how I'm pulling the string in the back. You always want to have your string taut or, tight. You never want to have it kind of loose, because that is just going to throw you so off and make huge loops in your project. Oh man, Trust me from experience, not a good thing. So you always want to pull it to the back, and then you're good to go there. So see, now, you just cut off the little extras, because that's what scissors are for. I love my purple scissors, I'm telling you. They are a game changer. So there you go. The finished rose mask. And you can actually find this on my Etsy shop. You can purchase it if you want, and it does have the filters. All my masks that I make have filters inside, sewn inside, and it's the circumference of the mask. So, there you go. Now this is just a black one that I did earlier. As you can see, it has the tan inner. This is actually for a man. And it's the same kind of thing. It's the same way. It has the filter inside. There you go. And here's a picture with me wearing it.